backend engineer at IPsoft, and he has 10 years plus experience. And he have worked up on projects related on cloud IT infrastructure, and he have worked on the platforms Microsoft Azure as well as an AWS. And he have client support given to Moody, Tigo, Mecom, Comcast, to name few. Welcome, Amia ji. Then we have Mr. Shashank Abhishek. He's a 4x AWS certified and solution architecture. He have a 9 years plus experience in IT infrastructure and AWS. He have implemented few projects using AWS services on E2B, EBS, S3, RDS, and the list is quite lengthy. Welcome you, Shashank.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, Amias, it's now up to you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to say thank you to you for helping us and arranging this program wherein we can share our knowledge with you guys and give you an effective way so that you can look into a more broader way of jobs which are available in the market. So before
You're
we
recording, sorry.
yes, yes, I am recording.
Okay, so we can share it later on, no problem. That's fine.
Of course, yeah, yep, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Nitin sir. You have described me. So as Nitin sir has mentioned that I have been working into IT since 2009, and I have worked with different US-based organization. Currently, also I'm supporting one of the US-based firm. So I'm giving the ball to Shashank, who would give his introduction. Then I'll take over. Shashank, over to you.
Thanks, Amya, for handing over it to me. So I'm working with IT industry from 2011. It's almost 9+ years, and mostly from last 4 years, I'm working as a solutions architect, designing platform on the infrastructure side, implementation of the DevOps model. It's mostly into multi-cloud model for me, whether it is Azure, AWS, or Google. And currently I'm working on Oracle Cloud as well, doing some POCs just to provide some solution on the Oracle Cloud as well. From the certification point of view, I have 4 levels of certification from beginner to intermediate and professional. And that's how the certification of AWS works in terms of the solutions architect. Yeah, that's pretty much from the profile side that I have.
Thank you so much, Shashank. Thank you so much. So today we are going to discuss about cloud computing. I believe you guys are very much excited to know about cloud computing, booming industry in the market as of now. And you have a lot of jobs over here. All right, so before we deep dive into cloud computing, I have a few questions. So I believe you guys can answer. My very first question is like, have you ever opened a laptop or a computer, and have you ever seen what are the components underlying a laptop or computer? Anyone who would like to answer?
Yeah, we have opened, we have seen.
So what are the components, major components, which we need to run a...
Find processor, RAM, motherboard, and then some IO peripherals attached.
Indeed, correct. So the major components that are very much important that we need is like CPU, memory, hard disk. Okay, and so with when we club this thing, we would be having a cloud, which we will be discussing in next slides. Then I have one more question is like, you must be aware of like what is a client server model, because it's very important to understand the client server model before we deep dive into cloud. So I believe in a simple term, a server is nothing but the device who serves the request requested by a client. A client could be us requesting data from a server via browser or via an application. So I'm handing over to Shashank, who will be now taking the rest of the slides and discuss the today's agenda.
Thanks, Amya. So this is our brief agenda for today, where we'll be going to start with your understanding on cloud platform, because I need to understand what exactly comes into your mind when you hear that particular word cloud platform or cloud computing or a simple word cloud. After that, we'll be going to take a look at what is cloud computing in general, why we need cloud in our environment, or most of the companies, why they are going into a cloud platform, what are the advantages that we have with the cloud platform, who all are the vendors in the market who supports or provides our cloud platform, why Amazon Web Services is a leader from last 10 consecutive years, do we have jobs on cloud computing, what are the learning platforms, so from where you can gain knowledge on cloud platform, and finally we'll be going to have a Q&A session. So I just want to make this session more interactive. Instead of I reading through all the slides, I just want to take your inputs, what you understand with your cloud platform, because reading through the slides makes it more boring, and I don't want to do that particular session, right? So let's start with your understanding on the cloud platform. What exactly comes into your mind when you have that particular word, cloud platform or cloud computing? Anybody on the call?
Let me, sir, Nitin, sir. Yeah, what we understand, Mr. Shashank, is it's a computer set up on the internet, or it's on the setup on the cloud. Like how Amya sir said that since a computer will have a processor, a memory, and all the kind of peripheral devices, these all together integrated over the cloud, and that is what we understand as a basically.
That's quite correct. Anybody else?
Yeah.
So for me, the cloud computing means the computation which happened on flow rather than having the things done locally. As Amya, he asked what are the peripherals that we'll find inside the computer. So I don't have the peripherals with me, but I'm sending it to somewhere. And I don't know who is the person or which machine is going to do that computation. But something is available who will do the computation and give me the results.
That's right. So basically, when we say cloud or cloud computing, these are basically servers connected from one another network. So let's say we have 100 servers. When I say server, again, servers are basically a hosting provider for your platform, right? So your desktop can act as a server as well. But that's something we are forcing it to make it as acting like a server. In same way, cloud is nothing but it's a virtual environment where we have servers that can be accessed over internet along with different softwares, databases, storage, and we to a certain extent we don't have that much of limitations in the cloud as compared to the on-premise data center. When I say on-premise data center, it's basically a server room where you have your storage residing in that particular room, your servers. Inside that server, you have different kinds of racks for memory, CPU, and all those other stuff. Plus, obviously, cloud computing, when it comes to cloud computing, we are responsible for delivering services through the internet, including, as I said, data storage, servers, databases, networking, and softwares. So that's what basically cloud computing is all about. And yes, you guys are like quite correct that this has to go via internet. Most of the services has been accessed over the internet. So that's basically the funda of cloud computing. Amya, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So that's, I have jotted down the points with the cloud computing. It's an on-demand delivery of a compute power, database storage, application, and other IT resources through cloud services platform via internet as pay-as-you-go model. Now, here we have like two terms, on-demand delivery and pay-as-you-go pricing. So let's say we have an application to onboard. Why we are calling it as an on-demand delivery? Because in cloud, you are responsible for provisioning any kind of resources, you are responsible for destroying any kind of resources, and you just have to pay for that particular amount of time. So for example, if you're running a server for, let's say, 10 hours, and then you are stopping that particular server, then for that 10 hours, you will be going to get charged. But as compared to the traditional environment where we have a server, physical server, we have to buy a physical server and we have to purchase for one time, or in a corporate environment, we have to purchase a license for, let's say, a year or a 3-year contract. And after that, we have to renew that as well. But that flexibility is present with our cloud computing platform, where we don't have to pay for 24 cross 7 cross 365 days. It's just basically whatever you are using at what amount of time, you just have to pay for that. That's why we call it as pay as you go model. We have different models as well, but majorly most of the companies go with the pay as you go model in terms of the development environment and in terms of the staging or testing environment. And that's why we call it as on demand as well. Whenever you want to provision, we just provision those resources. So I would like to take an example to make it more understanding. So for example, let's say we want, if somebody can go on mute. Okay, so let's take an example where we want to build an application. For example, Sumit want to build an application in a traditional way. So for that particular environment, what he has to do? First, he has to complete a requirement analysis from the client. Plus, he need to select what kind of language he will be going to code that particular application, whether it is C, C++, Java, C Sharp for .NET Framework. Then he has to buy a server, because once you are done with the coding, you have to deploy at some place to make it working on the internet. So he has to buy a server plus storage plus how many memory required for that particular application to run, whether it is 4 gigs, 8 gigs, 24 gigs, depend upon the requirement, plus number of CPU cores. After that, once the deployment is done on the local, then he has to go for a domain name system buying, right? He need to bind that particular DNS so that anybody in the world will be able to hit the website. For example, he is building up facebook.com. So he has done the coding, he has done the deployment on web server. Web server can be Apache, IIS for Windows, or Tomcat, or any other web server. And again, web service is just acting like a container over here, where we are just residing our code. So once the deployment is done, application is working fine locally on the internet. When I say locally, it should be with the IP address of the server or with localhost entry. Now, the next step is like, we have to make that application working on the internet. So when you hit facebook.com, you should see some response from your code, that what you have done in background. What we have to do for that? We have to buy a domain. Let's say GoDaddy in this example, which is everybody know for GoDaddy, right? So GoDaddy will be going to buy facebook.com. Once facebook.com is under our domain, then we'll be going to map facebook.com with the IP address where Sumit has done the deployment. So once the mapping is done, when you hit facebook.com from all over the world, you will be able to see the response. Now, here, if you see the level of efforts, what you are doing, obviously the coding has to be done. That's part of the development. The next part, you have to buy a server, you have to buy a storage, you have to maintain servers, you have to maintain your storage, plus you have to maintain your domain as well. And let's say if in near future, after 3 months, he need to scrap that particular application, then again, he need to follow the same process of life cycle, where he need to destroy the servers, destroy your storage, destroy your DNS entries, the domain entries basically. So you can see like a lot of efforts is happening in doing this onboarding of an application. But when it comes to the cloud computing, so for example, Satya is doing the same onboarding of an application in a different way on cloud platform. So again, he has to buy a server, but we have only one place where you will be going to get your servers, you will be going to get your volumes or the storage, you will be going to get your memory associated with the server. You don't have to buy an additional memory like a RAM to your system. That's what we do with the physical environment. So everything is getting at one place. And In terms of the liability, whenever, let's say in near future, he want to destroy that application, the process of destroying an application or decommissioning an application, that what we call in the corporate industry, decommissioning an application or environment, we can right away do it within few minutes, as compared to the traditional environment where you have to follow a lengthy process and your liability is more than what we have in the cloud environment. So that's basically the advantage that we are getting within a cloud environment, where everything we are getting at one place, regardless of any cloud platform, whether it is Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Oracle Cloud, IBM, or Google Cloud. So all works in the same pattern. It's just the level of services are different for each of them. So when it comes to the basic, as I said, it's an on-demand delivery system. You don't have to pay upfront. We have an option for upfront as well, but we don't pay upfront. Most of the companies don't pay upfront for any of the resources, because let's say I'm paying upfront cost for 3 years as a contract, but I just want to use only for 6 months. Then if I do a upfront payment, then the next 2.5 years will be like wasted for me, because I'm not going to use that particular resource. That's why there is no upfront investment in cloud environment. But in terms of the traditional environment, you have to do an upfront payment when it comes to the licensing part. Plus, you can provision anything, whatever you want as per your requirement, regardless of your servers. Or if you want to run your application on a serverless technology, you can do that as well. If you want to run on your infrastructure as well, you can do that. The best part is you don't have to worry about the management of the higher availability of an application, because once that is designed in your environment, it's responsibility of a cloud vendor who will be taking care of your data centers where all the servers are residing. Again, when it comes to any of the cloud vendor, they have different data centers in each of the regions. When I say regions, it can be country. Within country, it can be like different places. Within India, it can be Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, or any other cities. So they deploy different data centers, and it's their responsibility to manage, their liability to do the management of the resources. We just have to use those resources on our side. So that's one of the best part. You don't have to worry about the management thing. Plus, pay as you go. Whatever you want to use, just pay for that. You don't have to pay for any additional resources. So if you are provisioning any server, you just have to pay for that particular server. You don't have to pay for the DNS entry for that, because that's a different resources. So I hope this clears a bit in terms of the basics of cloud computing. Any questions still now? Yeah.
Shashank, you told we need not to pay for the DNS.
No, DNS is a different resource. What I said, we have to pay for, so in any cloud environment or in any traditional environment, whatever you purchase, you have to pay for that. What I am saying, you have to pay for the certain amount of time on which you are using that resource. For example, you have purchased DNS. If you are using for 10 hours, then you have to pay for 10 hours. But in traditional environment, you have to create a contract for 1 year or 3 years. So even if you delete that entry in a traditional environment, you have to pay, let's say, $50 for a domain. But in cloud environment, it's, in cloud environment, if you're using just for 3 months, delete it, you will not be going to pay for that. That's how the pay-as-you-go model works.
So even the website's model, it's available in cloud computing, like as you told, pay for what you use.
Yes, that's correct. So we have different resources, like we can own our infrastructure, but we cannot get a control on the underlying infrastructure. We can just provision the infrastructure. The underlying control is always with the cloud environment, cloud vendors basically.
Okay.
Even if you don't want to have servers in picture, then you can design a serverless architecture. But that's an advanced topic. I don't want to cover that with this particular basics. Amya, can you please proceed to the next?
Yeah. Any more questions before we move to next slide? All right. No. Next.
Okay. So again, these are the basically the benefits, the normal benefits that we are getting. The less cost as compared to the on-premise environment, the data center environment, the server room environment. We are having like less work, capacity planning. You don't have to worry about the management of the resources. Plus, you are getting speed, agility as well. Sorry. and you can go global within few minutes. You don't have to wait for like 24 hours or 48 hours to replicate all over the world. It will, everything happens within minutes. I would say not within minutes, it's within seconds actually. So the costing, the major benefit of going to a cloud environment is the cost, speed, and the level of access that what we are getting within a cloud environment as compared to the traditional environment. So that's something I have covered already with my example. Amya, next, please.
Yeah.
Okay. So why we need cloud environment? These are the few topics which are like associated with it. Now, since you guys have already have brief idea why we need a cloud environment, so do you think these pointers that what we have in the slide make sense to go with the cloud environment? Anybody like Nikhil, Satya, Sumit?
Hello.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, Shashank, can you come back again? I couldn't hear that
Okay.
last
So
sentence.
I have given an example why what cloud environment is actually, and why we need to go with the cloud environment. So the pointers that we have on the slide currently, why cloud? Do you think is it makes sense to have these pointers in picture to go with the cloud environment instead of having continuing with the traditional data centers or the traditional server rooms?
Right, means that is true, because as far as whatever the basic things we have also gone through, like even we are also working on the cloud systems, and uh, the requirement matters. This is what I feel, and definitely, because having a own data center is not a good idea.
Mhm.
So that should not be the means that cannot be the solution for any having anything on the cloud. Means like any website you consider, or any application you consider, or any kind of e-commerce websites, or any kind of IoT applications. For any kind of this kind of applications, the cloud computing is the best thing that even what you have understood.
Okay.
So that is what it is. Yeah.
Sure. So, as I said, like again, we'll be going to have a brief discussion over here. I want to, as I said, I want to have this more interactive rather than I read all the slides. So,
Right, right.
if let's say if we want to have a higher availability application, we can achieve that within our data center as well. We can achieve that within our cloud environment as well, and regardless of any other cloud platform. So with cloud environment, you will be going to get more resources as compared to the traditional environment. You have more hands-on, more practical experience when you try to design anything from networks to servers to access and all those stuff. And best part is like you can automate your system with the help of any services within running within a cloud. When I say automate, do you guys use or have you ever heard about doing an automation of your resources or provisioning your systems or onboarding an application? Have you ever used a term called automation or automating your system, and why we need it? Anybody can answer on that, why we need automation and why this is important in IT world?
No, automation is to avoid the human interference, what I understood.
Mm-hmm.
Avoid human intervention, and also at the right time the human should be available for that. If we are doing automation, it is not mandatory that a human should have a complete watch on the system all the time. Like automation, we are doing it on a particular clauses or particular cases, like whenever this kind of resources is going beyond the requirement, means beyond the specification, then increase that specification. This kind of this is what you are asking, right, Shashank?
That's right. So
Like
basically why we need,
bandwidth
yeah.
bandwidth on the cloud or the on a server, what we are using for a specific application. If the bandwidth increases, then automatically we have to increase the bandwidth again. Means we have a set means we have a predefined set bandwidth, and if the users are increasing, and if we are going to require more bandwidth, then it should be automatically, it should happen. Otherwise, the server will get collapsed. This is what I understand. Means this is what I know about.
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
these are the things
So
for this. Yeah.
the most important part is to reduce the manual efforts. That's why we go for an automation. And obviously, uh, if the resources are going on the higher side, let's say your server is running on a higher CPU, and if obviously it's 100% CPU, it will going to crash at some point of time. So I want to have a system where customer will not get impacted, because having a customer impact is always a bad experience. You might lose your customer. So doing an automation in terms of reducing a manual effort. So if I'm doing something on a day-to-day basis with a manual effort, if I can automate that process, that can reduce from your 24 hours of work to within like what, 10 minutes or 1 hour, something like that, right? So for example, if we do onboarding of any customer to any other environment, when I say onboarding, like customer is associating with my environment, so he's giving me all the data and we'll be going to host something in our cloud. So if the manual process takes 5 days of work, and if you are able to automate that process, then the reduction in the manual efforts can be done from 5 days to 1 hour. That's possible with the automation. And that's how the benefits of automation is all about. And yes, with the auto scaling, when I say auto scaling, again, when server is going on the higher side of the CPU, let's say 100%, it's going to crash at some point of time. Then with the help of automation, we can provision the same configuration of the server and add it to the load, so that customer will not get impacted with the performance as well as from the outages. When I say outages, sites are down, totally down. So those are few things. Obviously comes with the automation framework where you can design a lot of things with the cloud environment, and that's quite possible everywhere. So these are few benefits that what we have. And again, if you go with any Amazon Web Services or Azure Cloud, Oracle Cloud, they have more than 200 network access across the world. More than 200. I don't remember the number because they used to change time to time. But last what I remember, they have more than 200 network access across the globe. So it's very like largely distributed cloud environment. And again, regardless of, again, I'm saying again and again, regardless of the cloud platform. So that's the brief benefit. Any more questions on this particular slide, the benefit part, or is it clear? Any doubts?
Uh, Shashank, one more thing. Actually, I'm finding some civil people over here in a seminar. So, does the cloud play a role in a civil engineering?
Of
Um,
course, it does.
Because the question could have been at the end, but they are over here in middle. I can
okay.
see few of the students. So, do they have a career in cloud?
See, anybody can make a career in cloud. That's for sure.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I don't know the pattern of civil engineering, how the big, because I am aware of like only the construction part of civil engineering, but in background, how they work, the designing part. When it comes to the designing part, because the civil engineers design the building architecture, the blueprints and all. With the help of cloud, we can design that particular blueprint as well. So one benefit of for the civil engineers as well, they can make a career with cloud where most of the manual efforts will again get reduced with the help of designing blueprints and rest of the other stuff.
Okay, thank you, Shashank.
Any more questions?
Okay, so
Yes, Ram, go ahead.
okay, so the next part is basically the next slide comes as the models. So generally, when we say models, we have different types of models within cloud environment, where there is a comparison between your on-premise like a server room, then we have infrastructure as service, then we have platform as service, and software as service. So these are like few models that we have in cloud. So again, when I say on-premise, so if you see the diagram, we have separation of responsibilities. So when it comes to the model, we have divided the level of work. So on the left-hand side, which has been written as on-premise, you see you have to build an application, you have to maintain your storage, you have to purchase your servers, then storage, networking, you have to design everything. And on the left, extreme left, you see you have to manage all these resources. Nobody will be going to come for you to manage these resources, because once vendor has, you have purchased all the things from the vendor is done from their part. Rest of the things has to be managed by us. We are liable for all these resources, regardless of provisioning, decommissioning, maintaining, and everything. And the maintenance happens like time to time. It's not like you have to do a maintenance every 3 years. That's not the best practices. So that's something on the left-hand side, which it called as on-premise, where you can consider on-premise as a server room where you have multiple servers, multiple storages associated with the servers. On the second column, we have infrastructure as services. So the 3 points that what we have: infrastructure as service, platform as service, and software as service. These are the 3 basic models that we have in cloud environment. So every cloud platform works in this particular model. Let's talk about something on infrastructure as service. So infrastructure as service is basically where you are getting the underlying infrastructure like hardware, OS, storage from cloud vendor. And on top of that, you deploy your servers, you deploy your application, you do all the maintenance, you do the middleware part like deploying a code and everything. Rest of the part like virtualization, server storage, and networking, the maintenance part is something has to be kept with the cloud vendor, but the configuration part has to be done by an engineer, which is like us. So that's what most of the companies, like 90% of the companies, are running on this particular model, infrastructure as service, where based upon their requirement, because every company has a different requirement. So for example, Amya is working with different company where he don't want to maintain all this infrastructure. He don't want to have servers in picture where he want to deploy a code. He just want to kick off a process with one click, deploy everything in one go. But let's say Nikhil is working on a different company where as per his client requirement, they want servers, they want storage as per their requirement. For example, they want 200 gigs of storage. So we have to provision 200 gigs of storage. But the underlying maintenance has to be done by cloud vendor. The second part is platform as service. So platform as service is mostly dealt by the developer, where they just have to worry about doing a development. They have to do a coding. They have to maintain all the data. When I say data maintenance, basically connecting to our databases. So all the data flow and everything has to be designed by the engineer. And rest of all the other stuff like middleware, OS, virtualization, servers, storage, everything has to be maintained by cloud vendor. So they will give you a platform. You just have to do one click. Like, as I said, Amya is working with a company where he just wanted to have a one-click deployment. Do a one click, it will deploy everything. And you don't have to worry about provisioning your servers, provisioning your storage, network, and all those stuff. Everything will be act as a predefined when it comes to platform as service. Third part is software as a service, the SaaS model. Again, as of now, if I scan all the industry, like most of the product-based and a service-based industry, they are running on a model of infrastructure as service and software as service as well. The platform as service is basically, as I said, most of the part has been done for the development side. So the infra engineer or the network engineer don't have to engage in this particular model. When it comes to software as service, you don't have to worry about anything. The applications. So for example, we have Google Suite or Microsoft Office 365. You get Microsoft Office 365, which is running in background on Microsoft Azure. But you get that Office 365, you just double click and do the application installation on your system or on server. So that's basically as an example of software as service, where you are getting a build, you just have to, or executable, you just have to double click and it will install that particular application on your system. That's how the software as service works in picture. Here are a few examples of SaaS, PaaS, and infrastructure as service. As I said, SaaS, we have like big e-commerce, big commerce, Google Apps, or Office 365, Dropbox, where you just upload your files and everything. Even the Google Drive. Google Drive is also considered as software as service. So you just have to upload your requirements, and it will keep all those data, and whenever you want to download, you can download it from Google Drive or Dropbox. Platform as service, where you don't have to worry about the underlying infrastructure. So for example, I'm sure you're not aware of all these, but Elastic Beanstalk is basically one of a module where everything has been designed by cloud vendor. This is Amazon Web Services module. So everything is designed by a cloud vendor. You just have to upload your code and do a deployment. That's it. You don't have to worry about provisioning systems. When it comes to infrastructure as service, the third computing model, here you have to provision all your systems, but the underlying hardware control is with the cloud vendor. You in no case you will be getting any access to the underlying hardware. On top of that, it's basically you are getting a platform where, based upon your requirement, you will be going to provision your systems. So that's basically the computing modules or the models that we have with the cloud computing as compared to the on-premise environment. Any questions till now?
Questions? Let me ask you a question. What do you think, which model is cheaper and which is costlier, and the reason? Anyone from the audience?
For me?
No, not
Okay.
from me. Anyone from the audience?
I have heard, I haven't worked much, but software as a service is cheap because we'll be paying only for the period or the usage. Whereas in the case of on-premises or maybe infrastructure as service, we need to procure and get these things there with us.
And if you talk about between on-premises and on cloud computing, which is costlier?
No, on-premises is costly.
And the reason?
The reason is I should have physically everything available with me in my premises, and I need to provide up with storage, the racks, everything, space, the power for those machines, and there should be a person available to take care of those stuffs.
Correct. So we need a lot of manpower. You need security to take care of your data center 24/7. Under cloud computing, you don't need to worry about all these things. All right, let's move to the next slide.
Yep. So within, as we read about the different models of cloud computing, so we have something called deployment models in cloud computing. When I say deployment model, what does that mean? So basically, what kind of environment you will be going to provision within your in your system, whether you want to have everything kept as private, like within one room, and it will be accessed within your on-premises, like campus, or you want to go with a public model where everything is present on the public portal and you are dealing all the resources, or you want to go as a hybrid model, a combination of public and private. So something you want to keep, some application you want to keep in your campus, which is basically accessible within your campus, and rest of the application you want to post it to the world. So those are the three different models: public, private, and hybrid within cloud computing. And most of the companies are running on, I would say 95% of the companies are running on a hybrid model, where they have few services on private cloud. When I say private cloud, it's basically a private data center. Again, within your campus, within your engineering college campus, you might have one server room. So you can consider that as a private environment where you have all your servers and you are connected all your network to your labs. Public is something, a model where third party provider like Amazon, Azure, Google, that will give you a compute process, basically making available to the public world. That's basically a public environment. And again, it can be a multi-tenant architecture. You can design a multi-tenant architecture. When I say multi-tenant, it can be scattered. The application architecture can be scattered across different platforms. I can deploy an application to AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. The other related application can be deployed to Microsoft Azure. And the third application related to that can be deployed in a data center in your server room. So we can do that as well. When it comes to hybrid, as I said, it's a combination of public and private, and 95% of the companies are running on hybrid, because as of now, the market trend is like nearly 60% of the companies are running on cloud, because they have moved it from the traditional data center, traditional server room to any of the cloud vendors. So instead of like moving everything in one go from data center to cloud, they are running everything in parallel, and they are moving each of the application in chunks, like from lower priority application to a higher priority application. And when it comes to private, it's basically within a server room. That's what I have told. Like in your college campus, you have a server room where you have all the servers listed, plus the storage and the different related components. And your labs are connected or getting an internet connectivity from that, like from a router. So the top vendors, I have listed like a top vendors for the private. They can be VMware. Again, VMware is a company. VMware is a company. Dell is a company. Dell EMC, IBM. So these like, and you can create your own environment. You can set up your physical server. You can set up your virtual environment in one room, and you can consider that as a private. But everything in behind is virtual in nature or physical in nature, right? Even cloud, as I said, it's virtual in nature. The hybrid model, it can be a combination of your server room and cloud environment. It can be a combination of different cloud vendors and public. AWS, Microsoft, Google, these are the public cloud vendors. Plus Microsoft also provides private cloud. So they will be going to come into your premises. They will design all the data center, which is private to you and not public to the world. So this is basically the deployment models that most of us used to follow, and hybrid is like a very high demanding technology in IT industry. So now you tell me, what do you understand by these three models? In anyone, not Nitin or Sumit, anybody can answer this.
Shashank, I have a question here actually.
Mm-hmm.
See, as we say, we understand what is private and what is kind of public. See, when it comes to the hybrid, what all are the components we keep in public and what are the components we keep in private? Means, can you give us some examples?
Okay, so
with respect to hybrid cloud computing.
Okay, so for hybrid cloud computing, let's take an example where we have few servers. So they're like few servers which are hosting a private application, your endpoints basically. Okay. So for example, Facebook.com. Facebook.com has a lot of internal applications connected with each other, right? So those internal applications are running within their private environment, which are not exposed to the public world. And those private applications will give you the service responses in background. For example, connectivity to the databases. You can keep your database to private cloud, and you can have your applications hosted on the web server on a public cloud as well. So what it will do, when you hit facebook.com, the facebook.com application will hit the public server, which is hosted in a cloud. The authentication mechanism will be going to happen from the database with your username and password, which is hosted in a private cloud. And the route back traffic will go from private to public, and user will get a response and get authenticated with a Facebook page. So mostly all the private,
these are the applications. Some of the applications are kept on the private and some of the applications are kept on the public.
That's one way of designing it. So I'll tell you a scenario where I worked with one of a US based firm where there was a requirement to keep all the data in the private cloud, like in the data center, and they want to have the applications in application and database both in AWS. So since the database consists of all the data, but the majority of the compute process happens in the database side, they want to keep the metadata of those particular structure within our data center. So we created a mechanism where we open a connectivity between the two environments. So whenever database get processed from the client data, the metadata that it generates, it goes into the database of or the storage of on-premise data center. So that was one of the requirement that I worked with one of our US-based firm. But currently, as I said, 95% of the companies are running on a hybrid model. They are moving out of the data centers in chunks. They don't want to take a risk because, again, the cloud computing, if you don't design your system in a better way, you will be ending up giving more cost than a data center. So the designing has to be done properly. And cloud, again, it's not cheap if you're not designing it properly. You will be ending up paying very high cost to the vendors.
Vendors, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I got my doubt clear. Thank you.
Any more questions?
All right,
so I guess we have folks from final year as well on call.
Shashank, people are here from final year also. They are attending.
I mean, if they have any doubts, they can speak.
Okay, let me ask you a question. So, can we convert our data center into private or public cloud? Anyone from the audience?
Not anyone, I will.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, we can convert our data center to public.
Cool. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, means again, that is the same way, right? Like we have our own data centers. The data we have, the data means we have these hard disks in which the data is stored, and whenever we have a setup on the cloud, like if you assume AWS, we have an account there, and with that account we have taken up the specific required amount of disk space, and we'll get a proper, means we can even send that hard drive to the AWS as well, that they will transfer from there itself, which will be more faster than rather than doing over the internet. This is way, right, Anya sir?
Yes, that could be, but for that we use a different kind of service for moving the data to AWS by sending that service, we call it as Snowball. But my question was like, can we convert our data center, which includes your CPU, servers, networking devices?
Our data center to like rather than taking it from the vendor, whatever our data center we have, that only will make it as a cloud computing. Yes, definitely, that also can be made. For that we require this all these like domains, DNS, all these things are going to require, if I am not wrong.
All right. Any more? Okay. Any more questions on this deployment models? Otherwise, we'll move to next slide. No more questions? All right. Let's move to the next one.
So these are basically the advantages that we have already covered it. Pay-as-you-go model. Why anybody go to the cloud? The best benefit is like pay-as-you-go, less cost. You have more speed, more agility, easy to manage, high productivity. And to be honest, I have worked on a different cloud platform. As of now, it's almost 4 cloud platform not 4, actually 5 cloud platform I have worked with. And the more the environment friendly is Amazon Web Services. And I'm not saying other ones are not environment friendly, but it's very easy to use because they have made it very user friendly system within Amazon Web Services, plus Google as well. Microsoft Azure is bit clumsy, but yeah, that's also a good one to work with. And you can have like dynamic scaling as well. When I say dynamic scaling, that basically means whenever your system is going high in the resources, let's say if it's going to get crashed within like 5-10 minutes, you can scale it dynamically without impacting the actual customer environment. So in that case, customer will be happy for with us, and they will be not going to face any kind of performance impact as well. So that's basically a dynamic scaling in general. There is a lot in detail, but that's in general for dynamic scaling. And obviously, if you can automate the process, you will have a less deployment time as compared to the on-premise data centers. So this is something we have already covered in detail. If you can think of any other advantages, just let me know as well. I would be happy to include in the slides.
Any questions on this? All right.
Okay. So we have this. This is called a magic quadrant of cloud infrastructure and platform services. So there is a company called Gartner who basically evaluates all the cloud vendors every year, where they decide which cloud vendor is at which position. So the top three, the leader is Amazon Web Services. So Amazon Web Services is leading the cloud platform last 10 consecutive years, because it has Amazon started its cloud environment somewhere in 2006. They gained popularity. They gained starting popularity somewhere around 2013, 14. And before that, like 2009, they were like started with some different modules of their cloud services. Then Microsoft came into picture after Amazon. Then we have Google. Again, Google and Microsoft were like somewhere around 2011 or 2010. They started their cloud platform. But as of now, the three top giants in the cloud platform, as per Gartner and as per the different review systems, Amazon is the first one, then Microsoft, then Google. Now Oracle is coming into picture, where they are promising with the less costing, plus they have more regions, like more data centers across the globe as compared to Amazon Web Services. But till 2019, the Amazon Web Services has been considered as the number one cloud provider across the globe. And this is something we call as a magic quadrant, that what they call from their side. Next slide, Amir. So I'm going to cover a brief history and what we have with Amazon Web Services. There is no specific reason why I have chosen this particular platform, Amazon Web Services. I have worked on different platforms. So this is a great way to start for anybody who is in third year or second year, or even if they are pass out. If they want to start their cloud career, I would highly recommend to start with Amazon Web Services. And this is something Amazon has not paid me to tell all these things, but this is one of an easiest platform to start your career. So in 2003, as you see, in 2003, Chris and Benjamin, they have presented this particular idea of cloud computing to Amazon. Then in 2004, they have released their first service, Simple Queue service. This is one of a service within Amazon. That was the first service that they have released as part of the cloud computing. Then in 2006, AWS was officially launched. And from 2007 onwards, like 2007, 2010, they have started giving a lot of services to the market. As of now, we have more than 100 services with Amazon Web Services. So it can be like compute, it can be related to networking, it can be IoT or machine learning, AI, artificial intelligence. We have all services present within Amazon Web Services, and they are growing. They are like every year, at the end of year, they used to like create new service, or they launch a new service somewhere around December during their reinvent. So every December, they used to have a reinvent where they launch their new services. So every year they are like launching new services within their portal. And I will going to show you the portal as well once the slides are over. So Amir, next please. These are few features within Amazon Web Services. So AWS provides you a hell lot of features that you can use. One is like cloud-based infrastructure. This is a public cloud, and where they have an opportunity to like manage your own system. They have a service where Amazon engineers will be going to manage your environment. They have services where you can do a machine learning, you can design your robo system, plus you can design your artificial intelligence and all those stuff. The features as part of the AWS pay-as-you-go model, this is something common across all the cloud vendors. Then greater security. So they promise to, basically the security, what I see security is like, we are the person who design all our network infrastructure. So we are responsible for securing our infrastructure. From Amazon, they basically don't say like within your infrastructure, if there is a lag, we are not responsible for doing a modification. We can just update you that these are the lags that you have. You have to rectify all these issues from the security holes, and then you are good. But if you are designing, that means you are responsible for your system. It's not Amazon or it's not Azure. AWS has a hybrid capability as well. You can have flexibility, you will have a scalability plus reliability. So almost AWS provides you like 99.119% of higher availability of system, regardless of storage and rest of the other compute services like servers and networks and all those stuff. So it's almost equal to 100%, because nobody can promise 100% of higher availability of the system in background, but they are promising almost 99.119 of their storage and rest of the other services. Their global presence is across 190 countries. This number is changed now. I guess it's crossed almost 200 plus through 12 geographic regions. Even the regions has been changed. So I'm going to show you the portal of AWS where they have multiple regions. It's almost like 15 plus or 20 somewhere around. So these are the few basic features that what we have with Amazon Web Services. Amir, next please.
I believe you guys are getting it, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, we are getting it.
Cool.
No, Shashank, we are getting.
So I'm just talking about like the other folks who are from the final years. If they're not getting it, then I'll going to convert something into different part.
No, from students' point of view, if suppose they want to learn,
Yep.
so what you suggest for them?
We will come to
Because,
that.
We will come to that part as well.
Okay,
So
fine.
as of now, like with this particular presentation, we just wanted to cover the basic. I'm just covering the basics. I'm not going into a detail because I know, because I was also part of that particular bench, third year, fourth year, and second year. So I do understand that particular pain of understanding these things. So that's why I'm covering the basics, and that's why I'm suggesting AWS to start their career with. They can start with Azure, but Azure is a bit complex as compared to the other cloud vendors. So obviously, to start any cloud career, you have to start from the easiest one, which provides you basic details in a proper way. I'll let you know the platform where they can start with. So again,
Okay,
these are the
fine,
these are the services for AWS. They have global infrastructure. They have regions within. So regions, as I said, India is a region. Within India, we have Mumbai, we have Delhi, we have Hyderabad, we have Bangalore. These are called the availability zones where they have a different data centers, where they have all the servers resized. The foundational service EC2 is basically is part of when, so EC2 is considered as server. So for example, your desktop, if you're considering your desktop as a server, then your desktop is considered as EC2. That's the terminology we have in AWS, or virtual machine in Azure, or compute engine in Google Cloud. We have storage. VPC is basically a virtual private network where, so in earlier days, we used to have a data center and there is a different networking team that work and design all the networking part. Like we, in our curriculum, the BTech curriculum, we used to have like networking as a subject, right? Where we used to learn about subnets, the ranges, the IP ranges. That's where we defined VPC. VPC is basically works on the subnets and the IP ranges. Route 53 is it's basically a domain name system. It's just equivalent to GoDaddy. So GoDaddy is a common name for all of us. That's converted into Route 53 in Amazon Web Services. We have databases, we have application services, and the deployment and management services. So these are few basic applications that what we have within AWS. I just want to show you these services as part of the slide. So don't worry about going into a detail. I'll let you know the platform where we have all these covered up from basics to the advanced. Amya, please next. These are the regions. We have US East is basically the Virginia section of eastern part of America. Then we have western part of America. Asia Pac, we have Mumbai, Singapore, Sydney, Australia, basically. And we have like regions are coming into picture every like 3 months or 4 months in every cloud platform. I'll show you the practical part of this, how this looks like. So Amya, please next. Again, these are the global infrastructure of Amazon Web Services, where the blue lines are the edge locations. Again, edge locations are basically a virtual environment where they take the data from to the nearest data center. So for example, when I hit facebook.com, I'm sitting in Hyderabad. So the edge location basically called as a server, I will be going to hit Hyderabad server instead of hitting Delhi server. So the response will be more faster as compared to Delhi. The other one, the purple one, are the multiple edge locations and all those stuff. So before going to the next slide, this is basically what we have with the cloud computing and in general. But before going to the next slide, in terms of the job and everything, I just want to show you how the cloud platform looks like when it comes to Amazon Web Services. Let me share my screen. Just one second. Let me know when it is visible.
Yep.
Okay. So this is Amazon Web Services. So they give us a portal where this looks like this. And if you go to services, you can see like they have hell lot of services, more than hundreds. These are compute where your servers comes into picture. This is storage. We have blockchain module added recently last year. Then we have machine learning. So if anybody wants to do a development, so we have like certain fields in IT industry. So one part everybody knows is development. So if anybody wants to do a development in a cloud computing platform, then they can go with the machine learning modules. We have where is AI? We have analytics as well. So if somebody wants to do a data analytics, they can choose this particular career. We have analytics career as well. There is something called artificial intelligence. We have IoT as well, Internet of Things. What is AI? Yeah. So if you want to search, you can search it from here. share. I guess they have changed something. The name Amazon machine learning. It's somewhere here we have that. I guess it's part of the machine learning itself, AI. So basically, the funda is like they have a lot of services that you can interact with, regardless of development part, the network part, or the database part, analytics. We have different modules, and if I talk about within Amazon as a company, all these modules they have a different team. For databases, they have different team. For analytics, they have different team, and they work on each of the individual services. So if I talk about Athena, Athena is one of a service within analytics, which basically where we have a different team, where we have a different solutions architect designing all this stuff and different developers in background. So if I talk about the regions, these are the regions within AWS where we have multiple data centers. So within US, we have Northern Virginia, and within Northern Virginia, we have like 6 or 7 different places where Amazon has their own data centers. Then Asia Pac, Europe, Middle East. This Middle East and South Africa. Yeah, Africa. These two were added this year. It was not there before. So they are basically increasing their scope of implementing system across the world. I'm not going into a detail. I'm just wanted to give you a flavor of how Amazon looks like. Okay, so Amya, you can like share your screen and any questions till now, because I know like this is quite, if it's going quite in a detail, then I'm going to stop that. Okay. So do we have jobs in cloud computing? So here are the pictures of cloud computing. The top 3 countries that are selling cloud computing jobs are China, USA, and India. And again, these number varies from time to time. And this is something has taken from Forbes. Forbes is basically do the analysis of all the vendors, all the jobs, and all different related stuff. So almost like it's more than 5 million jobs are present in a market where in India we are getting more jobs on cloud computing, and it's not basically restricted to the freshers. It's for freshers to a experienced guy as well. So if you are aware of the cloud computing concept, regardless of vendors, Amazon, Azure, or Google, if you're aware of the concept, if you have worked a bit on the practical side, for sure you'll be going to get a job, a higher paid job in India as well. US, you get a higher paid job as well, but I'm talking about India. We have a lot of jobs because I do scan market in terms of the jobs, regardless of fresher or an experienced one. So we have a lot of jobs. Almost in India, it's crossing nearby more than 3 million jobs of cloud computing within our IT industry, because most of the outsourcing is coming from US and UK to India. So that's why we have a lot of jobs present in the market.
And almost every company is moving to cloud from on-premises. So you can assume how many jobs we have in the market with respect to cloud computing.
Right. So, Amir, next, please. Okay, so obviously, when you go for any cloud vendor, let's say Azure, AWS, Google, you have to at least do one sort of certification. When it comes to Amazon Web Services, these are 12 certifications that we have within market for Amazon. It starts with the cloud practitioner, which is a fundamental level of certification, then goes to the associate level, which is basically an intermediate level of certification, and then it will go to the professional level, where you need to have a more experience on working on designing stuff. Then last, they have created a specialty exam and dedicated to the modules. We have networking, we have security, machine learning, Alexa, data analytics, and databases. And again, they are modifying these certifications time to time every year. So if somebody has to start their career with a cloud computing with Amazon Web Services, you need to have cloud practitioner as first part of the certification, and then you can go with the associate when you get more hands-on on the cloud computing platform. Any doubts on Amazon Web Services or certifications or portal that I showed it to you?
Shashank,
Yes, sir.
because if suppose we take up from student point of view,
That's right.
and if they enroll for a account on AWS, and then they are studying and reading out the stuffs, what might be the cost associated with the basic course? Suppose, for example, if you tell that cloud practitioner.
Mhm. Okay, so the learning platform is basically Amazon Web Services gives you a 1 year of free services. So almost like 90% of the services are free.
Okay.
1 year plus every month 750 hours. So if you cross 750 hours, you will be charged for the time amount of time that the resources has been provisioned. So for example, if you are working on a server, 750 hours has been done for a month, and within same month, if server is still running, let's say for next 10 hours, then you will be going to get charged for only 10 hours, not for like 750 plus 10. So that's why Amazon is like quite benefited in this particular model, where they give 1 year of free services plus 750 hours per month. And most of the services, 90% of the services are free. So you don't have to pay for that. When it comes to the certification part, certification is something comes from Amazon. So every certification has different sorts of cost. When it comes to cloud practitioner, it comes somewhere around $100. Associate level certification is $150. Professional is $300. Specialty exam is $300.
So if we
That's
take
how
$100, it's almost 6,000 rupees for one exam.
yeah, that's the basic one. But the other one is almost 11,000, the associate level.
Mm. No.
Okay, and again, in terms of the course, I never recommend anyone to go with the institutes who provides outside on the name of that will be going to give you a live project. Nobody is going to give you a live project. Those are the dummy projects that most of the companies work. Hardly 5% of the institutes provides a real lifetime environment project. So in terms of the learning platform, we have different platforms. You might have heard about Udemy, where we have almost more than 2 lakhs of IT professionals, where they provide courses, and the charges for the courses are like almost 400, 300, or 450, somewhere around this only. So within 400, you will be going to get the best part of for your any cloud knowledge. Plus, you have YouTube, a free source. If you don't want to pay even 400, we have YouTube, where you can get a knowledge free of cost. So in that particular context, I'm an instructor at Udemy, where I basically provide free courses. I don't charge for any courses on Udemy as of now. I do provide the certification questions as well. Somehow Udemy doesn't provide certification questions as free model, so that is something charged. And again, time to time Udemy do a discounted rates, so somewhere around 360, 400, 450 for questions. Plus I own a YouTube channel as well, where I provide all the videos on the production environment. So whatever I'm working on a live environment, I create all videos from basics to advanced. So these are like platforms that you can go for in terms of the
ಮತ್ತೆ ಸುಳ್ಳು ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ನೀವಂತ ಸಂಜೆ ಫೋನ್ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಹೊರಗೆ ಯಾರು ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಫೋನ್
Was there a question?
No, Shashank.
Okay. So you can go, I mean, you can go with any of the platforms. So you will be going to get a good knowledge for sure. That's my promise. You will get a good knowledge from either Udemy or YouTube. You just have to check which channel is better in terms of providing a knowledge. I'm not saying my channel is best. I'm not doing a marketing over here. I'm just saying whatever I create videos, all videos are based on my production environment, the live environment. That's what I do in IT industry from last 9 years.
Okay, no, that's quite good, Shashank. But suppose if it comes up to the implementation part, because with the video we'll be able to watch, and if in a case the student wish to implement it or try to experiment with the stuff, so are you going to provide certain links or certain information where students may be able to work upon cloud?
Yeah, so as I said, my videos are on practical demos. Those are not those consist of hardly a minute of introduction, and everything is practical. So every service I do create, for example, if I'm creating server, so there is a step. I do follow certain steps in my videos where you can provision your servers, you can provision your storage, how you can deploy your application, how you can do a DevOps implementation. So everything is based on practical environment. Practical, it's not a theoretical channel. It's a practical channel. It's a live demo.
With the help of videos, you can implement the environment. It has step by step.
Yes. And again, if you want, I can share rest of the other Udemy instructors who are like considered as one of the best. But yes, the charges are hardly like 360 or 450 rupees, Indian rupees. So that's not much. And those videos are also like every instructor used to give you a brief introduction of the service and then go for the practical demo. So with the help of that, you can like do the implementation of your services within cloud computing.
Any more questions on learning platform?
I have one.
Yeah.
To Shashank or both, Amyam, both. See, well, I am not a student. Actually, I passed from the same college, but passed out from the same college. But I'm an entrepreneur and I work on IT infrastructure development and as well as on the IoT platform. We have developed some IoT products as well from the last 2 years, and we actually work in the industrial IoT platform where we collect the machine data, CNC machine data kind of things. And we have developed one product which can communicate the data to the means I have tested it to the AWS InnoDB to the database. But yet I am doing my research on it since then. But I just want to know, like since you have worked on the multiple vendor platforms. Which will be the best vendor for the IoT related cloud computing solution? Means what I heard or what I did so far is AWS is the best one, and I'm doing my research on that. But apart from that, any other vendors who can equally provide good kind of services in a cheaper format on the cloud computing?
So I guess Google has the best. I mean, Google is also emerging
vendor.
Technology in IoT. I won't recommend Microsoft Azure, but yeah, Google is the other platform that you can go for. I'm doing POCs on Oracle Cloud because they are like coming up very fast with their services, and they are like providing a cheaper services than rest of the other cloud vendors.
Okay, so this IoT is available even in the Oracle platform as well, I guess.
I need to check. I haven't done the POC for that. But
Okay.
yes, Oracle is I guess Oracle is giving a lot of competition to these vendors. And
Okay.
since there is a tie-up happened with Oracle and Microsoft, so that's why Oracle is providing much more cheaper services, and their services seems to be much more simpler and
Mhm.
less costing as compared to the other services, other vendors.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Shashank. Thank you, Amya sir.
So that's basically my channel. It's a YouTube channel. It's free for everybody. I have just crossed 100,000 views, which is 1 lakh views recently, like 2 days back. This is growing in numbers, although the number of subscribers is quite less. I don't provide videos much frequently because of my work, but it's almost like nearby 80 videos has been placed in my channel for Amazon Web Services and DevOps implementation. And I'm coming up with container platform, which is again the lighter version of your VMs plus different cloud platform, Google and Oracle. I'm not going to touch Microsoft Azure, but let's see how that goes. But those are the future plans for this channel. Now I'm opening this up for questions. And I want to have these questions from everybody, not especially from Nitin and Sumit.
Guys, please shoot your questions. Should I take it as a no? I thought we were having an interactive session. All right. The silence is all right.
Hello, Amya sir.
Yeah.
It was an interactive session what we have faced. Like, see, it is again, it is how the students are there. So even you can understand that. Fine,
Yeah.
that's one. But for us, it was a very useful one. And thank you to you and Shashank sir as well. Okay,
Yeah, you're
and
welcome.
thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. If no more
I
questions,
hope, I
yeah,
hope
please.
this, I mean, it was a good session. I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that. So I would like to thank Nitin sir and Sumit to get more interactive with this. And thanks to Amya as well.
Yeah. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. We would be happy to answer.
Amya,
Yes, sir.
actually, sir, he was busy. I couldn't meet him, and then he's over here. I think he wants to talk with you.
Yeah, sure. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, Amia. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, really a wonderful session. In fact, sorry, I joined late. There was some important, some discussions were happening in my chamber. Okay. But I could listen some question answer sessions, right? That was going very wonderful. I think one of our alumni, Sumit Hanje, was participating.
Yeah.
And okay, so very first on behalf of the college and Nitin, who is one alumni, who is heading the Innovation and Incubation Center for college, right? Who has taken this initiation of organizing this wonderful session. And thank you, Shashank Abhishek, who is the resource person. Really a wonderful Shashank. I compliment and on behalf of the college, we express our gratitude to you for giving such wonderful presentation, Shashank.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, Amia, so this now platform, okay, due to this Corona, we could able to see and meet and talk through this media now. Everything is online nowadays.
Yeah.
I think it's quite so many years passed, right? Could not interacted, but I'm happy you kept that the Just and the Jail having the alumni of BC and any moment of time. Okay, if any staff member from our college or the student and even including the Nitin, okay, whenever they want help or assistance or any kind of a guidance, okay, they will definitely seek some help from you. And I believe that Amia will going to help your alma mater, BC.
Sure. Of course, I will do.
Okay. Yeah. That's all. Actually, we are. In fact, even yesterday we had one webinar for the final year student. It was on the training placement activities.
Mhm.
Just yesterday morning, they completed their first IA test.
Okay.
There was an internal assessment were going on, and very first time we conducted the online IA test through monitoring. Actually, we all the staff members monitored the students through online while writing the IA test. Okay, that we did successfully. Many challenges are there. We need to interact and make it effective to the students. Basically, the students has to be one is making them aware about the technology, what is available, and the different the scope availability, right? Somebody in the expert in the industry expert or who is expert in that particular field, if when they share their knowledge, okay, when they explain it, I think the students will definitely get motivated, and at least they'll make their they think of their career, where to go and how to make it and all. So this is really this particular session, I believe it will going to help in this direction, and all the students who attended, right, they will be definitely going to benefit. And Nitin, thank you very much for taking the initiation and inviting Amia. Right? Can I able to see Amia? Because I purposely put my video on
Yeah, I'll
so that
turn on
at
my
least we
video.
can see here. Oh, great! Thank you, thank you. Yeah, how are you, Amia?
I'm doing good, very well.
Great, great. You are in which place now? Delhi?
Bangalore.
Oh, you are in Bangalore. Okay.
Yes.
So right now you're in Bangalore or?
No, I'm based out in Bangalore only. I'm working
Okay.
in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So then I think you can definitely make it, man, because quite so many years have passed and you are not made it to visiting Soundbagula, your alma mater,
Yeah.
Rishi.
Sure.
So,
In fact,
yes,
myself and Shashank were planning to visit Bangalore next month, so we'll let you know our
great.
plans.
So Shashank is from which place?
He is in Hyderabad as of now.
Okay. Okay. Is your the same colleague or
Yeah,
working in the same company?
we worked together in our last company. Now he
Okay.
has joined some other company, and I'm working with other company.
Okay. Okay. Nice. In fact, really, Shashank, I think it was really wonderful, your presentation, and we want to see many more for the benefit of our students, and they'll take your expertise knowledge and go ahead with it. No, the
Sure.
cloud computing is one field wherein I also know very little bit, but I think we cannot survive without the cloud now, right? Everything is a cloud. Because I don't know how much of my data is in the cloud now, presently.
I
Sure,
believe
sir.
your complete data.
Correct.
If we get an
You're-
opportunity, then we can do like a workshop, like a live demo kind of thing with the students, and
Okay.
we can visit like the college as well. I don't have any.
Please make a visit. I think when Nitin, you please take the initiation and we'll arrange that one, Nitin.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. And once again, my hearty thanks to both Amia and Shashank on behalf of the Bhabha College of Engineering. And thank you, Nitin, for taking the initiation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Good
Thank
day.
you.
Yeah.
Good day.
Okay, Shashank, thanks a lot on behalf of college, and we'll see definitely in future we'll be taking up your support to have certain workshops on AWS or on clouds.
Sure. Thank you,
Amia,
sir.
thanks a lot for the courtesy that you have shown.
Thank you, sir.
I thank all the participants who have attended, and even I
Yeah.
thank the people who came and left. No issues.
Yeah. Thank you for your precious time. Thank you. Good day. Bye bye.
Bye.